Week 5 of 49ers Game Plan presented by Zenni, the official eyewear of the San Francisco 49ers. I'm your host, Carlos Ramirez. Let's start this week with a must-see matchup presented by Zenni, the official eyewear of the San Francisco 49ers. And it's between the Cardinals quarterback, Kyler Murray, who's had a solid season so far with 6 touchdowns and only 1 interception, and 49ers pass rusher Nick Bosa, who had a sack, forced fumble, and recovery last Sunday against Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots. Now, let's take you to Levi Stadium, where head coach Kyle Shanahan sat down with Greg Popovich ahead of this divisional matchup.
Well, Coach, let's start with Fred Warner's pick 6 last week. We don't often have you break down defensive plays, but this was kind of like an offensive play. So Fred's jumping in the A-gap, Devondre Campbell showing blitz. It looks like you're playing man. He rock and rolls out of there. You drop, you wind up playing zone. He gets in the hook zone. But then after he intercepted the ball, your guys on defense, you got to get some of these guys playing offensive line, Coach.
Oh, they were great. I mean, it was such a cool play. I mean, we were playing Tampa 2, which usually has got to be down the middle, especially when they're running a dagger behind them, which is about 20 yards. And Fred stopped at 12, just reading the quarterback. So I thought they were going to get over him. But Isaac Yiadom had such a good reroute on the receiver that he couldn't get deep enough. So he couldn't throw deep enough. Fred jumped off and picked it. And then when he got it, man, no one hesitated. Like, everyone blocked. The coolest one was Mustafa, because he was behind everybody, but he just shot out of there like a rocket. And I think he hit their left tackle. It looked like the biggest guy and just depleted him, knocked him over. And then it was mainly Mooney. I think it was Demo.
Jair Brown, too.
Yeah, Jair. At the end, they let him in there. And, you know, we're never supposed to reach for the goal line, ever.
You don't want him doing that?
Only on 4th down. Only on 4th down.
You don't want to touch back.
We don't want to touch back. My dad used to say that when I was younger, and I used to think he was lame. I was like, no, whatever, we're going for the touchdown. But I've seen too many clips now, so I'm scarred. So we tried to show those to him, but the fact that he did it, he pulled it off, we were happy, and it was a big-time play.
You got to put Fred on offense the way he dove for the byline. That looked like Christian McCaffrey.
We got a lot of guys on defense that would like to play on offense, but
they would.
Yeah.
Which leads to, that was a big part of the game, because it was early second quarter. You controlled the first quarter, but you had to settle for field goals in the low red zone. So it was 6-0, and then Fred made it 13-0. Which leads to, last year, you were the best red zone offense in pro football. 67%, roughly 2/3 of the time, inside the 20, you got a touchdown. This year, it's right half. Now, the obvious thing is you don't have Christian McCaffrey. He scored 18 of his 21 touchdowns inside the red zone. When you analyze it, is there a common denominator on why you're not able to score, at least so far, and specifically inside the low red zone?
No, there's never a common denominator. I mean, it's always a bunch of variables. Depends on the plays, stuff like that. Sometimes you run it twice, and if you run it twice, then you better do good on 3rd down. If you throw it and you don't get it in, then you better start being more confident in the run game. So it's been here and there, whatever it is. I think we're ranked 17th this year, which is average, which is definitely not good enough. You know, I think we have been 2 out of the last 3 years. We have done a good job down there. Christian is one of the best red zone threats there is in the league, just because of coverages and stuff and how everything gets smaller, and to have that last guy on a check down that brings 2 people away. Either he scores or makes it very clean for other people, but we just haven't made our opportunities.
Which leads to Brock Purdy, and 30 for Purdy. So Brock made his 25th start on Sunday. So everybody's kind of analyzing, what does it mean 25 games into a career? He's 19-6, and it's all about winning. And he's got a lot of the records as far as 49er record book for yards, completion percentage, touchdowns. But the one that struck me, since the merger of 1970, with Brock Purdy as your quarterback, you are averaging 29.7 points per game. That is number 1 in the history of the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is 2nd. Tom Brady is 4th. That's a wow. You coached him for 25 games. Tell me about the evolution of your quarterback.
I mean, I'd like to say he's just come along the whole time, but I always go back to that first Miami game and how unbelievable he was off the bench, coming into a very hard situation, the way they were playing us, just under duress, just with all the blitzes, similar to the stuff that we've been seeing in Minnesota these last 2 years. And just how we played that game kind of showed how everything else was going to go. Now, usually the more guys play, they get more scars, things start to happen. And what was unbelievable with Brock, you know, that first year, the 7 games or whatever it was, he almost went through every situation that year, coming off the bench, playing at a high level, having to do it as a starter, breaking his ribs and having to play 4 days later on Thursday, getting through that, getting through a playoff game, winning a playoff game, then having such a crucial injury at the end of the year to where that's huge risk coming back the next year. He was able to come back, pull it off, carry all the pressure all year, playing at an MVP level and be able to handle that, taking us to a Super Bowl, having a 4-pick game and then bouncing back the next week and playing a great game. He's been through everything in such a little amount of time, and I mean, it's obvious what he is. I don't get what there shouldn't be any debate. He's done it very consistently, as consistently as anyone. That's what I see with my own eyes, and when I hear stats like that, it's just even more confirmation with what we see.
On Sunday, we'll see a 7th-round draft pick quarterback thrown to a 7th-round draft pick wide receiver. But J.P. Mason wasn't drafted at all. He went completely undrafted. And look at him now. He's 2nd in the NFL in rushing yards, #1 of attempts. He has broken 34 tackles this year, #1 in the NFL. He had a great game against New England, but he pulled you aside after and said, "Coach, I left too many yards on the field." Did he?
Yes, but he also made a lot of extra yards too. So I don't like saying that totally in public because it makes it sound like he didn't play that well. But whenever no one's perfect and you miss a couple and then you make up for a couple. But what's cool about our group, what's cool about JP is we all know where the ball's supposed to go, and we all watch it together. We all critique it to where it's not just the coaches. Our wideouts could get in the same meeting and tell you where that ball should have gone. Now everyone knows it's a lot harder when you don't have a remote in your hand and you can't slow it down and watch where the gaps are and how the scheme's going. So it's all about reacting and going and seeing how it plays out. But there was a couple times that he didn't have a bounce read and he should have got up in there for about 4 to 8 yards, and he bounced it and only got 1. And it happened a couple times in the game, and he knew it by the time he got to the sidelines. He knew it in the locker room, and he's apologizing for it. And I'm looking at the stat sheet and I'm like, it's pretty good to have a guy apologizing for that because this guy had a hell of a game.
And coming up next on 49ers Game Plan, we'll hear more from head coach Kyle Shanahan, looking ahead to Sunday with Kyler Murray and the Birds coming to town.
49ers Game Plan is presented by Zenni, the official eyewear of the San Francisco 49ers.